Good afternoon. I want to thank everybody who joins us. Ukraine Media Center continues its operation today. And my name is Olha Atamanova. And our today's second broadcast will be dedicated to the reformation of humanitarian aid accounting. We are going to present the concept for improving of the automated humanitarian aid registration system, and we will be discussing it in detail. I think it's not a secret for anyone that with the beginning of the full-scale invasion, Ukraine is receiving humanitarian aid in unprecedented amounts, and sometimes the existing administration system for humanitarian aid demonstrates its inefficiency, and the organizations are facing problems as they try to bring the cargo in, account for it, register it, and there are also problems in communication with the government agencies. So to modernize this system, the experts of the Center for Political Survey developed the system for improving of the automatic humanitarian aid registration system. So today we are going to have its presentation and discuss its advantages in detail. And now let me introduce our speakers. Joining us online is Simona Ognenovska, a representative of the European Center for Non-for-Profit Law Teaching. Joining us in the studio are Yaryna Pokhodai, legislation analyst, UCIPR, Yulia Panura, consultant on taxation of the CSOs and charitable activities, Ukrainian Center for Independent Political Research. Also joining us is Yurii, Yuzych, advisor to the Minister of Social Policy in Ukraine, and Liudmyla Khlan, representative of Ukrainian State Enterprise Information and Computing Center of the Minister of Social Policy of Ukraine. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for joining us. And first of all, I would like to give the floor to Ms. Simona. Ms. Simona, I hope you're hearing us loud and clear. So a couple of words about why is it so important to implement those procedures now, those which modernize the system. Why is it so urgent? Thank you.
Hi, hello everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, great, perfect. Good afternoon. I'm so sorry I cannot be there. On behalf of the European Center for Not-for-Profit Law, ECNL, I would like to thank you and our colleagues UCIPR for inviting us for today's important presentation. My name is Simona Ognenovska. I'm the project director of the EU-funded CSO meter project, under which today's event is taking place. And for nearly a decade, the CSO meter project has been monitoring laws and practices that shape a civil society environment across the Eastern Partnership region, the 6 countries, including Ukraine. And from the very beginning of the CSO meter project, we have been a proud partner to UCIPR and work with them to support progress in Ukraine. And through our regional CSO meter hub, we have a vibrant regional community of over 25 organizations that work across 6 countries of the region. And all of these organizations are committed to protecting and expanding the environment. And several of them work in Ukraine, more precisely 5, and they work collaboratively to assess the state of civil society, to advocate for reforms, and to translate data into action. So recognizing this need for targeted support in 2024, for the first time in the CSO meter project, we launched the Fund for Actions for the Hub. And we have been especially proud to support initiatives. And this is one of the initiatives today that is presented, which is vital, and it really offers specific recommendations that strengthens Ukraine humanitarian infrastructure, which is key, in a way that is more efficient, secure. So in general, for us and under the CSO meter, this is a particularly urgent issue, and also for civil society in Ukraine, I can imagine, because also what we see across the region is that organizations have for a very long time now faced challenges in assessing sustainable funding. And even in 2025 now, with the impact of the freeze of the US funding, which has been deeply felt, it is threatening the financial sustainability and the stability of many civic groups, and in general, the environment in which they operate. So This is really the right time to focus on an action like this. And the work today, I know that it reflects a very thoughtful research and a deep commitment of UCIPR to support Ukraine. So I really want to extend our gratitude to our colleagues who made this possible, and especially also to the speakers that are joining us today from state institutions. And your cooperation and openness to dialogue and finding solutions together are really key to a successful reform. And your efforts are not only delivering these critical, crucial services for Ukraine, but you are also setting an example for the region of showing how constructive collaboration, even in these times, even being under attack and invaded between civil society and state institutions, can really lead to real and lasting changes. So I really wish you a productive and inspiring discussion today, and thank you again for having me briefly.
Дякуємо вам, Сімона, і дякуємо.
Thank you, Ms. Simona. Thank you for your support. And I suggest we proceed straight forward to business, to presentation. And Ms. Yaryna, the floor is yours. Let me ask to put the presentation on the screen. Good afternoon, dear colleagues. Thank you for the gathering here to talk about the ways to improve the system to bring the humanitarian aid in Ukraine. My name is Yaryna Pokhodai. I'm a legislation analyst at UCIPR, and I will start with the overall vision of our project methodology using which we were conducting our surveys. So our organization was behind the creation of the UCIPR, in the beginning of the full-scale invasion, when the humanitarian aid was a really pressing issue, we gathered a lot of stakeholders with the desire to improve this system. So humanitarian aid matter is not something new to us. We were developing, or we were involved in development of relevant legislation, like my colleague Yulia was involved in preparation of the Law 101. And talking about the automated system, the system itself is a system working with a lot of information on a daily basis. We can enter the portal of automated system. It contains an analytics section, and we can see a number of amount of cargo, a number of users registered on that system. Those are all the figures in thousands. It's a lot of information that system has to process on an everyday basis. And just like any such system, it requires an ongoing monitoring and responding to the inquiries of the users. So basically, that was the goal behind this project. And to implement it, we first conducted a survey of the target audience. First of all, the recipients of humanitarian aid. And in our online survey, more than 50 organizations from all across Ukraine have taken part. The geography was quite expanded, but talking in statistics, the majority were the representatives of the western regions of Ukraine and obviously organizations from Kyiv. And more than 60% of those surveys were the representatives of charitable foundations that keep on bringing humanitarian aid to Ukraine. So they use the automated system on an ongoing basis. We gathered their feedback, and we've heard what was of concern to them in operation of the automated system and in the process of bringing the humanitarian aid to Ukraine. And then to study that matter on a more profound level, we've conducted a discussion with the stakeholders. First of all, recipients of the humanitarian aid, charitable foundations, charitable organizations, and another focus group has taken place with the international organizations that are the donors of the humanitarian aid. And we gathered a pool of suggestions about how to upgrade the system and to improve it. And the latest focus group was with the government representatives of the Ministry of Social Policy, and the administrators of the database, the PGOTs. And after the online survey and focus groups, we were able to put together a picture of the challenges existing for the automated system for the time being, and how can we improve the situation. Well, about the existing programs and solutions to them will tell my colleague Yulia. Yulia, please, the floor is yours. Good afternoon. Thank you. My name is Yulia Panura, and picking up the initiative from Yaryna, I would like to talk about the results that were yielded by all of our discussions with the key stakeholders, which one way or another are involved in bringing and distribution of humanitarian aid and covering of humanitarian needs. The recipients, it was real pleasant for us to hear that they say the system does work. You know, it was a big tick that we put in a box to make sure that the process is running, and the majority of the recipients, those who got involved from the very beginning of the year 2022, involved in the process of humanitarian aid, they said that the system does work, and there were no cases that would evidence that there was a delay in cargo delivery because of the failure of the system, like to say a cargo didn't arrive at Ukraine or a final recipient failed to receive the cargo because of the failure of the system. Well, it was important to hear it, and that's a fundamental statement. But again, if we analyze the resolution of the Cabinet of Ministers number 927 that organizes the operation of the automated system, we can see that the latest changes were taking place, so to say, not yesterday. And respectively, taking into account the fact that the situation in the legislative field of Ukraine is quite dynamic, including the processes of humanitarian aid, our respondents were saying that the automated system can be upgraded. So what our respondents have drawn our attention to? First of all, the cases when the automated system is not aligned with the operation of other government registers like tax inspection or customs inspection. Well, you know, it can create some delays, specifically when it comes to the vehicles. Every vehicle has its VIN code, and then sometimes when due to human factor or other technical issues, there is a one symbol mismatch, or due to some specifics it turns out to be unreadable. We were saying that we could submit paper declarations, and then this information must be verified, which requires some time spent by a civil society organization that was bringing that humanitarian vehicle in, and the government agencies who spent time to verify and to coordinate it. Another matter was the reporting. As our respondents were saying, the majority of the reporting does work, but when it comes to large organizations, they may have other dedicated specialist in their organization who works with an automated system, or an accounting service who knows the specifics of operation of the automated system. But when it's a recently founded organization, or if it's a small regional organization that was created by the activists, and if it works on covering the humanitarian needs of our compatriots, then in fact the lack of knowledge and absence of time to master those skills of working with the automated system results in the situation when time that could be spent on importing humanitarian aid is being spent on sorting out the system. Well, that's probably a right thing to do, but sometimes those civil activists may not have law education, economic education, and our specialists were mentioning that sometimes it's difficult to master all of the nuances of paperwork that humanitarian aid is supplemented with, like correction of errors. All of the respondents, they pick the way like to remove declaration and to fill it anew. Well, sometimes it may take time, it may be difficult, and sometimes it may require additional efforts. Also, the respondents were mentioning the difficulty of registration of vehicles that are incoming as humanitarian aid. So, look, if an initiative team, be it a charitable organization or civil society organization, they appoint one person, but when they start operating the material values, they start being regulated by the law on accounting. So such organization is supposed to comply with the legislation and comply with all of the accounting procedures. And again, the lack of special knowledge, lack of specialists who can document things like that, it has a negative impact on the speed of operations, speed of incoming of humanitarian aid, and respectively the respondents were mentioning that there are certain concerns about the errors for which there may be responsibility. Another slide, please.
Also, respondents said that there were some particularities about the accounting of the cargo and their accounting online were met. Although automated system was developed as a method to minimize the contact between the government's servicemen and the people that are actually involved in the cargo delivery. So a special document is required for importing or receiving a special humanitarian cargo. So some of the respondents said that they did not manage to learn how to do everything correctly from the first time. So they indicated that all the information is present also online. However, it needs to be found first. Next. Some of the recipients of the humanitarian aid said that there is some kind of closure about the information, on the information about who is to receive this or that humanitarian aid. So this shows the necessity to monitor requirements or it's sort of demand for the humanitarian aid, and where the requests could be made and in what way. So some of the respondents also mentioned that during the war, some of these steps could be dangerous, and some of the as a result, they are kind of a security consideration. Also, with opening the analysis data or information, such analytical products could facilitate the access to the humanitarian products for those who require them. And at the same time, some of the security considerations could dominate the previously mentioned considerations. As to the integration of the automated system with different government branches, there actually needs to be some time spent. And also among the propositions, there were heard propositions about the extension of the analytical data. Like, for example, the analytical data that's been already present but closed due to some specific calculations or numbers. They could be open now because of the time that has already passed since this analytical data was acquired. Also, what's suggested is that such information could be open and free to access. Like, for example, it could be simply copy-pasted into Notepad or Excel, and this would also facilitate the transfer to the government-wide or statewide system that is standardized and this would also kind of facilitate the challenges that the humanitarian aid recipients are meeting when the question of the legal lawyers or accountants arises. Also, some steps regarding the automated system. It was suggested that it needs to have a system implemented that would double-check the precision of the data it contains. And this also, what was suggested is the distribution of access among the different levels of access, like governmental workers, recipients of the humanitarian aid. Also, respondents stated that it would be very good, or at least nice, to unify the data, the reports that is submitted to the automated system together with the registers, governmental registers. So, for example, the respondents said if, for example, their reports, their monthly reports, were automatically added to the reports to the government, that would also help pretty much to implementation to implement the system of automated system of humanitarian aid accounting. Like, for example, when we have seen that the reaction to significant events that were kind of dangerous and widely reported, we have seen a quick reaction to this. And some respondents said that at the time, it was a very efficient way of creation of necessary connections between the governmental structures and voluntary organizations that are involved in humanitarian aid delivery. For example, there is a problem when, for example, there is a vehicle that's is being accounted at the government structure, and it's really difficult to rent it for humanitarian aid purposes. So after conducting, so to speak, this survey, after these survey results, we are hoping for to implement those suggestions in the automated system. And now I would like to ask my colleague about how fast or what do we need to make it fast to implement those suggestions. Ms. Liudmyla, so this is a question for you probably. How real is the perspective of implementation of those suggestions that we just talked about? Yes, this is about reality. Hello, thank you very much for this opportunity to meet together. I would like to also thank to the users of our system, to the voluntary organizations, civil organizations that provide, that support the whole process of the implementation of the automated system, to our people, and in this way they help our people to withstand the challenges that we're facing nowadays. Also, I'm very grateful to the volunteers that we developed this system together and tested it, also improved it and reacted to all the suggestions that were proposed, and it all involving the border crossing, and the main idea was what could actually facilitate their life in general, like when we had a second invasion, full-scale invasion, and everybody started to help each other, and after some time it has acquired kind of a big scale. The questions of reporting and accounting have naturally arisen. So this is why this system was created, to facilitate the life of these organizations, so that they are secure from some fuzzy questions, some unnecessary questions. And the first tests that happened on the 1st December 2023, it was just a carcass, the bare structure of the process that was later added to the legal field. And since then, the system was improved little by little, and this year it's been already 1.5 years that we have been working using this system. And during this period was a very important step was also implemented, which is structurization or clarification of the structure of the reporting, and more comfortable for users. That's what one of the requests that we heard from the users. And nowadays we can say with certainty that we have managed to improve the system in terms of reporting structure, the structure of reporting, and we are taking into account all those suggestions in our work, and all those suggestions that we haven't implemented yet, we have it on the list, and we will be implementing them little by little in the future for the perspective. There was an example today here that sometimes there were mistakes that forced people to redo the reports all anew. We already put some effort into this, and we have created a new possibility to correct mistakes without rewriting the whole report, and necessary amendments were made into the administration procedures for during the development, during support and implementation of the system. We have a big and nice team of professionals, and I'm very proud of the team that is involved in this work, and they all are very, very engaged in the process, and we do really love what we are doing. In terms of improvement of the system, we are interested in this ourselves, to improve it, to make it better, to work more efficiently, and we do have possibilities. We have opportunities for this, and we will implement, and we will focus on this as well. And unfortunately, there is just one component because of which we can't start right now and implement our ambitious plans, and this is, of course, financial resources. As of now, our system is on pending, is in the pending condition, and all the legal acts, legal nuances, they were made without intrusion, without intruding into the work of the system. So we are continuing the work, but it's not up to scale, so to speak. We would like to do more, because after every legal decision, we are trying to facilitate the process of entering data into the system for our users, and it also concerns the exchange of data between different governmental organizations, like Border Control Service, like Ministry of Interior Affairs. So as of now, what we have is the automated system that is half manual, which actually is supposed to be automated. Also, I agree that we need to implement the CRM system. It is really necessary for these small foundations. This is like a lifeline for them. And also, this would invoke trust from those foundations towards the system. Also, some unified forms of accounting of data. It is different from from governmental organization to governmental organization. And what needs to be unified, first of all, is, for example, the law about the transfer of the vehicles for humanitarian aid to the military structures. And for this, we are preparing this small instructions, small and clear instructions for the end user, what needs to be done to, for example, accomplish this or that concrete step.
Recently, we had resolution number 321 adopted, which contemplates the upgrade or update to the content of the cargo after custom clearance by the cargo. It's a huge breakthrough because really human factor plays a huge role there, and where there is human factor, where there is human intrusion, it can create some mistakes, and this resolution regulates such changes, such amendments. Basically, it has 5 different orders. We processed it with our colleagues. We discussed it with the relevant department of the Ministry of Social Policy, and by every component, we put together a small instruction clear for the user. We place them in the system. We place them in all of the public social media, and currently, we are conducting support groups. So far, it's existing in Telegram, in WhatsApp. It has about 3,000 subscribers, and we operatively respond the inquiries of the users. And I really take pride in my team, who works 24/7 for the users. We are in touch all the time. We are in touch with the government authorities, with the customs service of Ukraine, and even in case of any incidents, we are in touch. We are always by their side, and no matter how good is the system, whether it's ours or someone else's, automation, this effect that a human being needs a human being, it's always there. And in any situation, those people, they are not being left on their own. They can call us at any time of the day to obtain some qualified aid, support, and they are not being left alone. And I really take pride in this support. We have such a force, we have such a connection between the users and the developers. I think it's really important for all kinds of systems with any level of automation. And having financial resources enjoy the support of the relevant department of the ministry. We made about 30 amendments. Yeah, and they keep coming every day. The suggestions keep coming, and they are like reasonable, not to improve for the sake of improvement, but for the sake of convenience, to improve the procedures, to improve the automation of the processes. And the people, from the beginning, as they were implementing the system, there was resistance because it was new. Anything new causes such resistance, but then they felt the palette of it, and they've realized it's easier, and now they are like, oh, now I see where's my humanitarian aid, because I always keep searching for the declarations without knowing what has arrived. And now they see this automation effect, and for the time being, when we made a distro list of warnings that, like, please take a look, you have to submit a report, please double check it once again. So they got themselves together and they started analyzing their reports. They started finding some issues there. And what I especially love about this community, I mean, I'm really lucky to be working with this community, with the volunteers, with this driver of changes in Ukraine. They keep helping each other. If someone finds out something new, some update, or how to do things. You know, they exchange their experience, they share it among each other, and it's really pleasant to witness. And even if we have some response through our hotline or through our help portal, we have this portal. As you enter the system, in the bottom there are contacts you may reach out to either email or by phone, and there's a lot of inquiries, and as soon as we respond, they share that response among themselves. So it's a very intense interaction, and we appeal to our donors, to the partners for aid, for financial aid, because we are a state-controlled enterprise who is administering the platform. We provide only pay-based services. Unfortunately, according to the law, we cannot provide free services, and to comply with the regulations, we have to have some funding for it. So out of all of the spectrum, out of all of the range of all of the tasks, the only one which is missing is the financial. Thank you, thank you. So, Mr. Yurii, what's your opinion on the upgraded model, and to what extent does it cover the vision of the ministry and the global challenges? Well, first of all, I would like to mention where we were and where we are and where we're moving to understand the scale of changes, of the positive changes. You have to understand that before February 2022, the humanitarian aid process was very complicated. The organizations had to do the custom clearance, then to put it in some storage facilities, then to prepare the paperwork submitted to the Ministry of Social Policy. The ministry was putting together a commission which was considering every single piece of cargo, assigning the status of humanitarian aid to it, and only then it was transferred and reported. So it was a very complicated manual process. I would say a 20th century or maybe 19th century type process. And when the full-scale invasion has begun, you know, the war is always a challenge, but it's always, as any challenge, it's an opportunity. And the government has taken advantage of this opportunity. They've taken a decision that there are declarations, so no custom storage facilities. The organization is just declared as humanitarian aid, and they prepare the reports. But then another thing emerged. Like, there was a lot of people who wanted to help. There were lines in the border, and then there was a standard situation. Something was coming in, like a vehicle or something else. The organization that was declaring was putting another organization in declaration, and many organizations were affected. And then such a vehicle was coming as humanitarian aid and disappearing, and it was unclear whether it was a real piece of humanitarian aid or it was someone's business. That's why we've developed the automated system that works without any government commission, based on a declaration principle. And now all of the automated system is built on the principle that any organization which wants to bring in humanitarian aid submits a declaration. The declaration automatically documents it as humanitarian aid, relying upon the faithfulness of the organization. Then the government gets this information that there is humanitarian aid incoming, and the organizations keep on submitting their reports. So where are we now, and where are we moving? About a week or week and a half ago, all of the organizations, about 11,000 of them, registered in the system. They got a letter that says that in the regulation that governs the operation of the automated system, there is a requirement to submit reports 90 days after the humanitarian aid is incoming, and if such reports are not submitted, we block that option of creating new declarations for you. So now we are in the middle of campaign, and thanks to EOS, I want to say special thanks to EOS because I got back from the army. I got mobilized as a volunteer in 2022, and I never knew there was an automated system, and I've seen this example that is, I would say, exemplary for all of the state. Like, you know, in no resolution it is said that EOS is supposed to communicate with the users in WhatsApp responding to their inquiries, but they keep doing it, and they keep doing it real good, and I want to really thank them for that. So now we are transitioning to another phase when this resolution that was adopted in the penultimate year and started its effect in the previous year, it changes the situation with the organizations who did not report. We will have to sort out the situation with those non-reported organizations. You were saying there are unfaithful organizations that try to bring in something under the cover of humanitarian aid. So again, the declarations are being recognized, and every declaration which is not registered, we have a list of suspected organizations suspected of unfaithfulness. If they fail to submit any reports, we will cease any cooperation with them, and we will provide more space for faithful organizations so they could work. At the same time, we're catching up with the years 23-24. Just today, the government has adopted a resolution that says that the vehicles imported after the year 22-23 cannot be registered. We only made it possible through the system for the military and non-military, so that those cars can switch to normal Ukrainian number plates, and the military who use those vehicles so that they could leave Ukraine as they go on vacation, for example, abroad. You know, there were very little declarations that were signed out for non-existing organizations. So today, another resolution was adopted. I want to thank Ministry of Internal Affairs who were supporting this resolution. They've understood the situation, and shortly we will be able to block those vehicles brought in the years 22-23. Why am I talking so much about the vehicles? Because the half of all of the declarations registered in the system are the vehicles. And on top of that, there are more questions. Another question related to the automated system is about identification of organizations, because there are two inquiries at the same time. One is that there is a Shlach system using which the volunteers could live abroad, and there was a lot of abuses, that they could write a letter to the ministry, someone was leaving and never coming back, and on the next day there was another organization registered, say Daisy, and they were again bringing people out. So we blocked that thing. There is a draft resolution. Hopefully, shortly, the government is going to adopt this resolution. So what's the idea? So those organizations that work in authorized system, who have a certain number of declarations, who have submitted certain number of reports, who undertake additional responsibility to inventory that humanitarian aid that is being brought in, because it's not mandatory now. When system was implemented, you know, there were reports for small organizations. It was really complicated, but the organizations that want to rely on certain benefits from the government, we need to make sure that they have such opportunities, and it allows small organizations to grow and to become more capable. Also, we add a requirement of an annual report, a declaration, well, not a declaration, but the faithfulness policy, and we keep moving within this standard framework. A government keeps verifying organizations. We cannot do it in automatic mode like completely, but the paperwork package is going to be gathered, and organizations will get a temporary status of a verified organization, and it's not going to be a regional administration or some government administration to submit some reports, but if they comply with certain standards of faithfulness in the automated system, it will be said that we have these or those employees who live abroad to obtain humanitarian aid, and the bodyguard service is going to let them out because I mean, they had to talk a lot to those people to find out whether people were really living for the humanitarian aid. The volunteers were carrying a lot of paperwork with them to confirm. So now we're going to avoid this situation. Well, there will be a challenge that it may probably not work within a couple of months, but then it's going to work. Another challenge is that many civil organizations want to put a lot of cars on balance without switching them to Ukrainian number plates, without basically customs clearing. And now we want to write the new procedures for the identified organizations that are within the systems. Those organizations will be entitled to bring in the vehicles to improve their humanitarian capacity, and globally we're moving in this context that the number of the identified organizations is going to grow. We are going to build more trust to such organizations on part of the government, and the other way around, we will provide them with more options because, for example, the regulation of the European Union sets forth a clear requirement that the government helps the organizations involved in humanitarian aid, specifically when it comes to transportation. So if we have verified organizations, if we're going to understand it, if we have trust on part of the society, they report publicly. It's not like a one-day shell company or private organization, then there will be the new reasons to make new resolutions for other organizations, to put together some new algorithms for them to compensate the travel expenses or compensate the expenditures for some humanitarian crisis in the storage facilities, because the humanitarian organizations, they don't make money. First of all, they raise funds and then they invest their time as volunteers, and this is the most valuable thing that only exists, and it's important to support not like everyone there when those who are not involved are getting the benefits and those who are involved are being punished. I mean, we have to remove this Soviet mechanism. We have to better understand the amounts and the scale. And another example, now we are in the process of this verification, and the organizations agree that those who want to be able to declare the volunteers, so the volunteers could live abroad again in an automatic mode. If the volunteers don't come back, the organizations are being blocked. So basically the organizations undertake the responsibility for creation of inventories. Now the system only has the number of declarations, but total amount of declarations. Calculating the total amount of humanitarian aid is currently impossible, and if we have some fraction of the declarations, at 20-30% of the organizations who are faithfully transparent and voluntarily get transparent, we can understand that if 20% has this value or can account for this amount of money, total amount of humanitarian aid incoming in Ukraine within 1 year is probably that number. Hopefully we'll get more data like this, we'll get more organizations that are getting transparent at a certain phase. We'll probably see a situation, you know, when the number of those unfaithful organization is falling. And on top of that, you know, there is a national service which is supposed to exercise monitoring of all this thing. So when we started putting together the procedure for monitoring, we've realized that we have to make a warning distro about this reporting. And it's very bad when the non-faithful organizations take advantage of some opportunities, meanwhile the faithful ones suffer. And I want to thank for this monitoring. There is a lot of organizations that work, but it should be a closed cycle even within the government. In terms of interaction with the civil society organization, to reduce that option or that opportunity for unfaithful organizations to work with humanitarian aid, and we could regulate it through different mechanisms in automated system. I'm not sure, but probably at some phase we will see only verified organizations there, and there will be some window for those organizations who are only just entering the market, so they could have this window to start operation. If they confirm or if they prove themselves as good, faithful organizations, they can submit declarations for perspective. But it's more about the way we're moving to. It's a unique story both in Europe and all across the globe, because the system of working with humanitarian aid is a little bit different. In Europe, in the third world countries, it's difficult with the societies, and the governments pay less attention to such issues. We have a more complicated story on our end. We are the first ones in the world who have such an automated system, and I think that within some short period, our system, it will be so important that Ukraine will demonstrate another example of digitalization in the state, in the government, including such interaction between the government and the institutes of the civil society. Not in manual, but more in the digital mode. Thank you very much, Mr. Yurii. I would like to pass the microphone to the floor. Dear friends, if you have any comments or questions, please join us. Oleg Boychun, Charitable Foundation Glava IDEM. We have a huge IT company. We won a bid in the National Bank. We are aware of all of the financial streams. And when the American corporation is using our financial services, they don't carry cash. And after the 2 months of war, the IT specialist created a humanitarian stream, back offices, logistics, blockchain, but it was not timely. Why not timely? Like 2 years ago, there was a funding for Kiev volunteers. We had a stand. Everyone keeps coming and seeing like, wow, back offices, everything that was only needed. And the IT specialist said like, okay, if it's not timely, then okay. Well, but we were not aware of that thing that you were just describing. I told you, we had National Bank among our clients, but everybody was saying it's not timely. We had infrastructure, we had back offices, everything. So what's your opinion on that? Well, look, I'm not a government official. I'm an advisor. I'm involved in civil society work. And on top of the phrase that it's not timely, there is another popular statement that there is no money. And I know some institutions that keep saying the same thing all the time. So, the civil society can create a billion different products. It can be cool. There is one product, one IT product that is documenting distribution of humanitarian aid into regions, and it's clearly visible which communities are undersupplied, which are oversupplied. But from the perspective of the government, for some product to be created, it has to be, well, not only in Ukraine, it has to be verified and recognized by the state, which means that the state special communication services have to check all of the risks, because the product from a niche product may transform into a nationwide product. And back at that moment, the volunteers stop comprehending it. Even if there is a good supervisory board, When it's been transferred to the state, it transformed into a government-controlled product. It's not going to happen like this, oh, this product is cool, we're taking it. First of all, there should be legislation. In case it doesn't exist, there should be a relevant resolution, and this resolution should contemplate some legislation, some framework, and at the same time, there are situations when in the civil society organizations, there is a number of solutions, and picking one of them means refusing others, which will mean that their product dies. So one thing, like, take it, we're going to present it to you. So even if it's a unique product, this is the case. When it happens, it's being integrated into the government product. There are examples of such stories, but if there is a thing that is not integrated or written in a different code, or there are competitors, it's way more complicated. And even it's more complicated to implement when there are some people who put it together and then the software specialists don't know how to integrate it, how to make it fit. So basically what was created in the years 22-23, there was a lot of them, they were cool, but now we have this system and we're working on its development. If there are some things, we are open to the dialogue, and even when it comes to Shlach, there are two ways of solution. Add more money to make sure that those who work with the system can continue doing it. And another option is for a company to write a new product. Okay, they can write it, but they write and leave. And you have to suffer with it, because then you're not going to be able to find the people who can synchronize all those things. And an organization which has done it, they demonstrate how good they are, but when it comes to some problems, it becomes complicated. So it's not about things being not timely, but it's about doing the things in the right way with understanding that there should be less shortcomings and the system should become more efficient. Thank you very much, dear friends. Do we have any more questions on the floor? If so, please let us know. Please.
Hello, my name is Vyacheslav. I represent the civil protection organization. Thank you very much for your presentation. I have been involved in the similar activity for a few years, and I really do welcome. It is really welcomed the implementation of the systems that we are talking about today. Ms. Simona mentioned that financement of the humanitarian sector is getting shortened, and it is connected to the decrease of the American aid. And it is a tendency. It is a global tendency. It concerns not only Ukraine. For example, in this context, your concept of the automated system of humanitarian aid, it is actually important right now. And theoretically, as far as I understand, it helps to involve more humanitarian actors and to clarify the procedures for the existing humanitarian actors. And in this particular aspect, I would like to know more details about how the recipients themselves of the humanitarian aid, these so-called humanitarian actors, what their reaction, what their feedback to the implementation of the automated system is. Also interesting to know, or at least even understand, if it will help them get more money to directly help to the people. About resources, a small reply. What is this system? from one side, it's very extensive. There are a lot of people involved, and a lot of them would like to be included in this system. And however, right now we have the barrier that is regulating the actual flow of the new humanitarian actors. And one of the goals of the automated system is the levers to influence the inclusion of the new humanitarian aid organizations into the system. And we had a lot of problems with the architecture of the whole system has to be improved first, and smaller organizations will have a possibility to have the process of financial regulation simplified for them. So the final goal really is the assistance to the humanitarian aid organizations to provide their aid directly to the recipients without unnecessary obstacles. Because right now there is a lot of discrepancies as to how bigger and smaller humanitarian aid organizations are working, and these requirements are among one of the main focuses of our work right now, because the sector is growing fast, and it will continue growing. Very shortly about if it needed by the recipients. The first stage of our work was the surveys, and we were hoping, of course, to hear that everything is fine, the system is good, but of course we haven't heard this. So the first ones to work within the framework of the system were the first to provide the feedback. These were the people who actually work directly as transporters, as vehicle drivers that is transporting the humanitarian aid across the border. And of course, what we were asking them first of all, what would they suggest for the system to be improved? And it was very, very important input from the first operators of the humanitarian aid transportation. I would like to say a couple more words about statistics. When this system was launched, the amount of the items that were imported into the Ukraine could actually be accounted for. We had the humanitarian aid always. It always existed, even before the full-scale invasion, and we had before the full-scale invasion, we had around 1,500 recipients of the humanitarian aid. Right now, it's more than 16,000. Before, it was accounted for on the paper or in an Excel document. But right now we are using modern electronic databases, data processing software, and as a result, we had before we had the situation when it was required around a month of time to actually bring some humanitarian aid in. Right now, we are able to process more than 600,000 requests and around 9 million instances of humanitarian aid transportation was implemented. And this was actually the 1st of December of the 2023. Because in 22-23 there was two ways available for the users, both manual on paper and electronical, and they preferred in many cases the paper way because that's what they were used to. However, right now it's been electronic. The fully electronic automated system was implemented, and they don't have this old way. They don't have access to this old way anymore. And what this resulted in is that every day we're capable to process a few thousand different declarations. So this is what we can actually say. The results that we are seeing after the system was implemented. And we also made these statistics. 1,500 users are connecting to the system from different points of the world, France, Australia, Poland, Ukraine, neighboring countries, so from any point in the world. More than 1,500 declarations every day. But, you know, the protection system, the security system is working in a way that if the IP address is registered in the Russian Federation, we just cut it off, and we don't even process any kind of data from there. And we caught this moment immediately and never had any problems with these kinds of input anymore. My name is Andriy. I didn't think about asking a question, but I think that a very big problem is that in the future it is needed to avoid disconnection between a private, like for example this person that asked that was asking the question before, and the government, like you're representatives of the government. Can you please answer my question? This is a humanitarian aid. It is a help. It is basically a help to the society, and instead of if we don't create a system that gives a full arbitrary assessment, we cannot proceed successfully. Well. We are very far from European standards of implementation of different policies. Again, about Shlach system. It was closed, and we have seen in the news, we have seen this kind of feedback that, well, it's full stop to the humanitarian aid, no more humanitarian aid. But we understand what is important. Like, for example, you say mediation, like connection between government and humanitarian organizations that they need help. From 12,000 humanitarian organizations that we have registered in this system, we only have 70 that volunteered to cooperate with us as in terms of creation of this automated system. And I have been visiting different humanitarian organizations and I observed how they work, and it's a total chaos. And you will not believe it, but half of those people didn't understand the word faithfulness. You know, some concepts are just alien to the actors of this particular field. So we are trying to eat a whole elephant bite by bite. We are. What's the most important in this story is that we are open for the cooperation, and we are actually encouraging organizations and individuals to work more with us, to work more on practical questions, on practical solutions, and not just the general assessment of how the system is working, but rather in the process of creation of something that could be practical. Thank you very much. I would like to thank everybody for participating in today's event. Also, I would like to thank all our volunteers, all the participants of the humanitarian aid organizations, and here is my hope that the system of humanitarian provision will be improved immensely, and we will have the system in place working. Thank you very much. Glory to Ukraine.